Hey guys, I hope you're having a great weekend. So far, the quizzes that I've graded have turned out really good. So good job. So we're gonna notch it up a level now, and we're gonna take a look at a system of three equations with three variables. Okay, so this would be a three rows by four columns. So this is a 3 by 4 system, a three variable system, x, y, and z. So just like a two variable system, we need to make sure that our x's are lined up, our y's, our z's, then our equal signs, and then the constants on the end. So the identity matrix for a 3 by 4 matrix is going to look like this: 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. And then our solutions for our first variable will be here. The solution for the second variable will be here, and the solution for the third variable will be here. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our matrix. Well, notice that this first equation is starting off with a 2. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and switch these two around, because notice this one starts off with a 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put this equation as my first row. So that's going to be 1, 3, 2, 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this one next. 2, 1, negative 1, 2, and then my third row, 1, 1, 1, 2. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to get our zeros in these two places. We do it the same way that we do a 2 by 3 matrix. We're going to take row 1 times negative 2, so negative 2 times row 1, and I'm going to go ahead and write the operation next to the row that I'm going to change. So I'm going to take negative 2 times row 1, and I'm going to add it to row 2, and this is going to give me a new row 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and do two operations at one time. So that's going to get me a 0 here. Now what would I do here to get a 0? So I'm going to go ahead and take row 1 times negative 1 to get a negative 1, and then add it to this one to get a 0. So add it to row 3. That's going to give us a new row 3. So let's go ahead and do the math. So row 1 is going to stay the same. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Plus 1 is negative 5. Negative 4 plus negative 1, negative 5. Negative 2 plus 2 is going to give us 0. Okay, doing the next operation, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. Here we're going to have negative 2 plus 1, negative 1 plus 2. So we got our first column done. Okay, just like before, we're going to go ahead and get the next one out of the way. So looking at row 2, I can go ahead and divide by negative 5 in order to get a new row 2. That's going to give me a 1 right here. So we're going to have, let's go ahead and go up here. Row 1 stays the same. 0 divided by negative 5, negative 5 divided by negative 5, negative 5 divided by negative 5, and 0 divided by negative 5. Okay, so we should end up with this. Now that we have our 1 in this location, we then need to get our zeros above it and below it. So what would I add to 3 to get 0? Negative 3. So I'm going to multiply row 2 by negative 3 and then add it to row 1 to get a new row 1. And then to get a 0 below it, I need a positive 2 to add to negative 2. So I'm going to multiply row 2 by 2, add it to row 3. That's going to give me a new row 3. So let's do the math. So row 2 is going to stay the same. So negative 3 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus 3 is 0. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus 2 is negative 1. This is going to give me 0, plus 1 is 1. Doing the math on row 3. So 2 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus negative 2 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus negative 1 is 1. This is going to give us 0 plus 1 is 1. Alright, we got our second column matching the identity matrix. Now the next thing we need to get the 1 in the third column. Got it. So now all we have to do is get zeros here. So if I want to get a 0 here, I need to make this negative 1 and add it to 1. So I'm going to take row 3 times negative 1 and add it to row 2. And that's going to give me a new row 2. And I think I'm going to just add these together because 1 plus negative 1 is going to give me my 0 here. So I'm just going to take row 3, add it to row 1, and that'll give me a new row 1. Alright, so notice that we did nothing to row 3. So let's do the math. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, plus 1 is 0. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, plus 0 is negative 1. Okay, now we're just going to add the two rows together to get a new row 1. So 0 plus 1, 0 plus 0, 1 plus negative 1, 1 plus 2. Okay, so now we have our identity matrix right here, and we have our solution set right here. So our first column, if you'll recall from our equations, is x. So that means that x is equal to 2. Our second column is y, so y, find your 1, y is equal to negative 1. Our third column is z, so find your 1, so z is equal to 1. Now, how do we write this answer? As an ordered triple. You've heard of an ordered pair. This is an ordered triple. And we write it like this. Your x value is first, then your y, and then your z. It's a three-dimensional solution. Now, number 2 is another example that I'm not going to go into right now, because my video has just approached 10 minutes right now. This one is another one you can do to practice this. Okay, just know you're going to get decimals, fractions in this problem, and know that you're going to have to line things up. X's are good, but this Y is on the wrong side. You got to move it over. Got to line everything up. So I tell you what, at least do this for number 2. Would you set this up? Set up the matrix for number 2, and we'll do this one on Tuesday as a warm-up. But please have the matrix set up when you come to class. Now the other thing I want to go over really quick is some vocabulary. So if you'll take a look at this, and read it over, what you need to know as you read this is these words right here. Consistent. So if we have a system that has at least, in other words, it could have one or more solutions, it is said to be consistent. Now if it only has one solution, only one, then it's called independent. If it only has one solution, as you can see in this graph right here, this would be independent, and it would be consistent because it has at least one solution. Next, if you'll remember when you had an infinite number of solutions where the lines are coinciding, there's one right on top of the other, okay? This is called dependent, okay? And how do you know when you have a dependent? Well, back to our notes. Notice we have one solution. So this is consistent and independent. Okay? You will know if you have a dependent solution if you get zeros all the way across on any of the rows. Any of them. It would go 0, 0, 0, 0. Then you know that you have a dependent solution. An infinite number of solutions. Dependent. And then finally, the last vocabulary word that you need to know is inconsistent. And that happens when you have lines that don't intersect. And so the system has no solution. Okay? So how do you know when you have that? So we know that if we get zeros all the way across, it's dependent. Okay? If you get, if on any of the rows, so like for example, you get 3 zeros, but then you get like some number. Notice there's no 1. In all of our rows we have a 1 in the identity matrix. If a 1 is missing and you get 3 zeros and some number over here that's not a 0, then you have inconsistent. It is inconsistent. In other words, no solution. And dependent, infinite number of solutions. So try to study this, try to memorize this vocabulary. It's important. Hope you're having a great weekend. Sorry I was a little long-winded on that, but we'll see you guys on Tuesday, excuse me. I'll be here, you'll be home. Have fun.